I will die when the Emperor is ready to accept my soul, and not a moment before. The Order of Our Martyred Lady is one of the major orders militant of the ADEPTA Sororitas, or the Sisters of Battle, founded in honor of Saint Catherine by the Ecclesiarch Alexis the 22nd, the long-lived successor of the great reformer Sebastian Thor, in the 36th millennium, when the location of the ADEPTA Sororitas' primary convent was split between Terra and Ophelia 7, creating, among others, the Order of Our Martyred Lady. Of all the orders militant, there are none more numerous or more widely spread than this one. Its name is known by the ruling elites and unwashed masses alike on countless worlds across the galaxy, and when spoken, evokes hope in the righteous and fear amongst the faithless. The Order is renowned for its unrelenting pursuit of those who defy the Emperor by doing harm to his Imperium and its citizens. Xenos, marauders, chaos armies, and heretical cults are met with burning fury by the Sisters of Our Martyred Lady, who gather wherever the enemy is found to scour them from existence. The Order holds fortified sanctuaries on a great many Imperial worlds, many of which date back to Saint Catherine's Wars of Faith. Some of these sanctuaries operate in relative isolation, existing far beyond the established boundaries of the Order's parish, but the majority are located in the Segmentum Obscurus. The broad distribution of the Order's preceptories has seen the Sisters of the Order of Our Martyred Lady engage in many of the Imperium's most grueling war zones. On Armageddon, the Sisters amass to defend the Sanctorum of Saint Catherine against the Orc hordes of Gazkul Thraka. Though fully half of their number were martyred, they inflicted such casualties on their enemies that vital greenskin forces were drawn away from other battlefronts, the sheer grit of the Sisters enticing them from far and wide to join the siege. The Order has also fought on Cadia during the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler. Though the planet eventually fell, the faith held by those who battled there led to a great miracle, with Saint Celestine appearing from the warp to bolster the defenders in their darkest hour. Although the Great Rift now divides many of the Order's sanctuaries, the Sisters of Our Martyred Lady have not relented in their quest to avenge the Imperium's fallen heroes. They stand dauntless against the chaos forces that pour from newly opened warp storms, and they march out to annihilate any foe that would prey upon humanity's beleaguered defenders. The fire of their spirit is a beacon of hope, a sign that even in this time of abounding horror, the Emperor has not abandoned his faithful servants. And now onto the Order's history. The Order of Our Martyred Lady was once known as the Order of the Fiery Heart. Like their fellow ADEPTA Sororitas Orders militant, the Sisters of the Fiery Heart could trace their origins back to the teachings of the Daughters of the Emperor during the Age of Apostasy in the 36th millennium. But soon, small variances began to manifest amongst the newly founded orders as the persona of the different founders asserted themselves. The Order of the Fiery Heart reflected the vengeful nature of their first canoness and eventual patron saint, Catherine. Catherine had long been regarded as Dominica's second-in-command, and even before heading her own order, had led many successful campaigns against the forces of heresy and warpcraft. With the Sisters of the Fiery Heart behind her, Catherine engaged in ever more wars of faith, seeking out the enemy both within and beyond the borders of the Imperium, and casting upon them the immolating light of the Emperor. She led her order for many solar decades, enforcing the Emperor's will and prosecuting wars of faith across the galaxy. Within her lifetime, she was declared a living saint for performing legendary acts and led her order to countless victories. It was during one such war of faith that she was slain. Records regarding the events of her martyrdom are sparse and at times contradictory, with the oldest and most reliable account appearing in a charred fragment of parchment known as the Candela Scroll. The legible script on this scroll states that Catherine's death came at the hands of the witch cult of Monasterium, but there is no indication of what this cult was or how they managed to slay the revered warrior. Ecclesiastical records do show that word of her demise sent waves of anguish throughout the ADEPTA Sororitas, with many orders holding solar weeks-long vigils. Yet the Order of the Fiery Heart took no such action. Every last preceptory, commandery, and mission in the Order girded themselves for battle and channeled their grief into an endless quest for retribution. In honor of their fallen matriarch, they became the Order of our Martyred Lady and have continued to seek vengeance ever since. For millennia, the Sisters of the Order bore armor and weapons of stark black as a sign of their mourning. It was only after their engagements in the Third War for Armageddon that red was introduced into their livery. Now, here are some of their most notable campaigns. The Massacre at Sanctuary 101 in 897 M41. On the world in the Vidar sector, located in the eastern fringe of the galaxy, the Order had founded a fortress convent designated Sanctuary 101. The isolated convent had the misfortune of being the Imperium's first recorded contact with the Necrons, where the Battle Sisters were massacred by Necron raiders. Video logs recorded a furious battle between the Valiant Sisterhood and the Necron warriors, but little of worth was displayed, as there appears to have been an artificial disruption introduced into the recordings. Subsequent investigations into the site of battle revealed nothing more than the mutilated corpses of the ADEPTA Sororitas, eviscerated in a hideously surgical manner. No signs of the true nature of Sanctuary 101's undying attackers were ever found. The Martyrdom of Praxedes in 991 M41. Canoness Praxedes reinforced the regiments of the Imperial Guard serving the cardinal world of Akassis soon after the start of the Second Tyrannic War. As the Tyranids of High Fleet Kraken assaulted the ecclesiastical cathedral, the combined fire of the Order's Retributor squads and Exorcist tanks obliterated the first wave of Tyranid biomorphs. But the second managed to breach the fortress walls of the cathedral. As Tyranids poured through, Praxedes confronted a hive tyrant. During the fighting, the Canoness was dealt a mortal wound, but even as her blood ebbed away, she summoned the strength to land a final blow, caving in the hideous beast's skull with a thunderous strike from her power mace. With the tyrant's destruction, the swarm lost all connection to the hive mind and thus all direction, with the biomorphs turning on one another in a cannibalistic rage. The sisters of our martyred lady wasted no time in pressing the assault, determined to avenge the death of their beloved Canoness. The remaining Xenos were swept aside, buying enough time to evacuate the Ecclesiarchy's remaining priests before the Tyranids launched their next wave of attacks. Praxedes was eventually canonized as an Imperial saint for her actions on Ocassis. The Third War for Armageddon in 998 M41. The Order maintained a strong presence within the Armageddon system, with its base of power at the Sanctorum of Saint Catherine, which was built within the high walls of Hive Tempestora on the world of Armageddon. Then, the largest Orc Warg ever raised, led by the warlord Gazkul Mag Uruk Thraka, assaulted the planet and began the Third War for Armageddon. In the initial Orc assault, the Battle Sisters' positions were attacked by large Orc submersibles which emerged from the boiling sea. Caught unawares by the audaciousness and sheer ferocity of the Greenskins' attack, many of the Battle Sisters were slain. The Sisters were the front line of defense for Hive Tempestora, but their battle lines soon were overrun. This enabled the vile Greenskins to take control of the Hive City's underhive within only a few solar hours. With each successive wave of Orc attacks, the Sisters were continuously pushed back, until finally they found themselves with their backs to the great armored doors of their Sanctorum. It was there that the Battle Sisters made their final, heroic but futile stand against the encroaching Orc hordes. This day became one of the darkest within the Order's history, as their battle lines crumbled and they were scattered. Those few Sisters that survived the final assault attempted to form their lines again, but were cut down by the massive green tide of Orcs. After an hour of savage fighting, no humans were left alive as the Orcs took Hive Tempestora and the Sanctorum. After this defeat, the Order could barely field 3 whole companies on Armageddon. The loss of their Sanctorum and the many valiant Sisters who had fallen was acutely felt throughout the rest of the Order. Many novices began questioning their faith in the Emperor. Those Battle Sisters that remained recovered quickly, swearing mighty oaths of vengeance against the foul Greenskins and vowing to retake Hive Tempestora, no matter the cost. But before they could do so, the surviving Sisters of the Order were spread across the rest of the planet to help solidify key Imperial positions. Their presence proved pivotal, preventing the Orcs from overrunning several areas of Armageddon. The destruction of Chandri at some point in M41. 5 commanderies from the Order of our Martyred Lady set out to purge the heretical cults that had arisen on the mining world of Chandri. The Sororitas never arrived at their destination, giving rise to the belief that the Emperor has denied the planet's inhabitants the mercy of purification. an exterminator's action was subsequently ordered and carried out. The purging of the Saint Garat Scriptorum. In M41, it is believed that it was the Order of our Martyred Lady, acting in concert with the Witchfinder Inquisitor Tannenberg of the Ordo Hereticus, who descended upon the Saint Garat Scriptorum, dragging hundreds of Adeptus Terra scribes screaming to the excruciation chambers of Nemesis Tesra and burning down the Scriptorum. When the adepts lodged a formal complaint with the High Lords of Terra, they were silenced when Inquisitor Tannenberg produced 300 specimen jars. Each contained the preserved remains of a scribe, their previously hidden mutations uncovered for all to witness. The Fall of Cadia, 999 M41. Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade descended upon Cadia. Forces drawn from across the Imperium battled to drive back the Chaos invasion. And though they fought with bitter resolve, they were in the end overwhelmed by the Despoiler's armies. Within the darkness of this war zone appeared Saint Celestine, bringing with her the 5 commanderies from the Order of our Martyred Lady that were lost in the warp 1400 years before en route to Chandri. These reinforcements provided much needed firepower and hope before Cadia was ultimately consumed by chaos energies. Celestine reaped a great toll on the armies of Abaddon. The Indomitor's Crusade. In M42, Robert Guillermin, the newly instated Lord Commander of the Imperium, launches the Indomitor's Crusade to save humanity from total annihilation. Through this grand campaign, he is able to reinforce the embattled Adeptus Astartes chapters, bolstering them with Primaris Space Marines. The Order of the Ebon Chalice is instrumental in the Crusade's opening maneuvers, fighting alongside Guillermin's forces to save the most strategically vital planets in the Segmentum Solar. Other orders lend their might on many of the Crusade's multiple war fronts. It is during this dire time that Junith Eruita is elevated to the rank of Canoness Superior of the Order of our Martyred Lady, having proven herself in countless battles to be a steadfast and fiery leader. A commandery of the Order of our Martyred Lady joined Battle Group Faustus of the Crusade's Fleet Secundus under the command of Canoness Justine. It served as part of the force that sought to reclaim imperial control over the Bosphorus system. The Humble Saints. In M42, the Alpha Legion enacted a fell ritual on the agri-world of Nolf Prime. Sisters of the Order fought alongside Space Marines of the Iron Hands chapter to annihilate the heretics, but were unable to prevent the planet from becoming saturated with chaos energies. Yet amidst this catastrophe, there was a glimmer of hope. The Emperor's will was manifested through the faithful inhabitants of the planet, many of whom gained the ability to project holy flames from their bodies. The War of Beasts. From circa 0M41 to 15M42. The Sisters of Battle that fought upon Vigilus during the War of Beasts were a vital part of its defense. Without their faith, surety and swiftness of purpose, the hive sprawl of Otek would almost certainly have fallen, and likely Hyperia too. Some amongst the citizens have described the feats of martial prowess they exhibited as miraculous. The ADEPTA Sororitas have a proud tradition that saw their founders talk in person with the God Emperor himself. They are more than a mere military presence, for they embody the Imperial Creed and back it up with fire and fury. On Vigilus, they kept the hive sprawl safe from countless threats, ranging from mundane rebellion to supernatural manifestation. The Order of our Martyred Lady had fought to keep it unsullied by the scourge of chaos for nearly 4,000 Terran years. They had garrisoned Saints Haven, the planetary capital and heart of the ecclesiarchy on the world, ever since it was a simple basilicanum, and patrolled hundreds of kilometers of alabaster ramparts and tower-dotted boulevards in force. Being urbanized to such a degree, they fought almost exclusively in the built-up areas of the hive sprawls, and the ADEPTA Sororitas of Hyperia hive sprawl became a largely mechanized force. They had a great many transports at their behest, and were well versed in the tactics of citizen control during times of strife, so much so that the sight of their midnight black vehicles sent the populace of Hyperia scrambling to move out of the way. Each Canoness and Sister Superior knew the city streets well, having made a study of them for their entire tenure. With the data harvests of the Order's Dialogus predicting likely threat zones and guiding their optimal passage from one hive sprawl district to another, the Sisters of Hyperia were masters of their territory. Should the unbeliever, the heretic, or the abomination threaten a city district, the Sisters of Battle were swift to respond. It was this home advantage that saw them hurl back the Orc invaders time and time again in the War of Beasts opening stages. Such was the influence of the Adeptus Monasterium over Vigilus that the Sisters of Battle under their command had priories and abbeys in every hive sprawl. They were initially placed there to further the reach of Saints Haven, or rather, the ecclesiarchy's political presence there, and for a time, the planetary governor Lucien Agamemnus resented them. But as the Orcs slowly closed on the planet's metropolises, and the Gene Stealer cult of the Pauper Princes rose up in dizzying numbers from beneath the streets, the true value of the ADEPTA Sororitas became clear. Where the Sisters of Battle walked, the grace of the Emperor held back unnatural magic and banished nightmares like the morning sun. Where they fought, the populace fought with them. The Canoness Superior in charge of the Adepta upon Vigilus, a fiery and short-tempered individual known as Temperance Blaze, was so roundly feared that she was given free rein by the entire ruling Aquilarian Council to prosecute the Vigilus campaign as she saw fit. Beneath her was a network of trusted canonesses and Celestian superiors she had named the Sacred Thorns, each of whom was entrusted with the defense of the Monasterium's interests in a different hive sprawl. When the Space Marines made planetfall, it was Temperance Blaze that dealt in person with the chapter masters. In the first few solar weeks of the war, she had taken the invasion of her planet hard and had led many a counterstrike in person, taking out her righteous indignation upon every malcontent and coward she could find, as well as the Xenos invaders that threatened her cordons. Only when the war ground into more of a stalemate did she resume her role as war leader, coordinating the defense of Hyperia with lethal efficiency and leaving the killing to her sisters. Used to all but ignoring the officers of the Astra Militarum, the Adeptus Astartes conversely worked closely with Blaze, for they saw in her a powerful ally with vital knowledge of each theater of war in which they fought. Working together, they proved far greater than the sum of their parts. Though the Sisters of Battle kept largely to the high sprawls, they held the line when even a whole regiment of Imperial Guardsmen would have been found wanting, defending the interior districts with Bolter, Flamer, and Melter Blast. And the Taladus War in M42. 3 preceptories of the Order of our Martyred Lady under the command of Canoness Sarita were among the defenders of the Grand Honorificum Cathedral City Complex on the cardinal world of Benediction. With the aid of other Imperial forces, they successfully blunted the final assault of the Word-Bearers and their demonic and Chaos Cult allies under the command of Cor Ferron upon the Great Cathedral. The Order's Combat Doctrine. Retreat. I have a score of the Emperor's finest battle sisters at my command, and you think a few hundred alien savages are cause to turn our back and flee? Let the enemy come. They shall find neither our resolve nor our aim wavering. From Sister Superior Lacina. The Sisters of our Martyred Lady continue to embody Catherine's burning passion and unflagging determination. On the battlefield, they employ tactics that see their formations spread like an unstoppable fire, advancing inexorably as they reduce all who stand before them to ash. Yet their approach to warfare is far from undisciplined. Catherine was a devoted student of military doctrine and combined the formidable fighting techniques developed by the Daughters of the Emperor with those practiced by other branches of the Imperium. Her teachings have been upheld by the Order, and its sisters are able to switch from one strategy to another with frightening speed and efficiency. The Order's beliefs. Even if you are able to kill me, heretic, my soul shall then become like fire. I shall be taken up by the Emperor and shall blaze as one with his divine light. For evermore shall I guide the faithful, lending them my strength until you and your cursed kind are scoured from existence, if you're able to kill me. From Canoness Arlay. Since the death of their matriarch, the Order of our Martyred Lady have developed a cult of martyrdom that is unparalleled amongst the Adepta Sororitas. All sororitas are taught that to die serving the Emperor is the purest fate his servants can hope for, but amongst the Sisters of our Martyred Lady, this ideal is expressed so fervently that it can appear to the uninitiated as though they have a death wish. Isolated battle sisters stand bravely against onrushing hordes of foes, hymns of defiance and reports of bolt guns rising to a simultaneous crescendo. and when the blades of the foe hack into the sisters' flesh, they give their souls willingly up to the God Emperor. Such noble deaths are met with shouts of praise from the slain sisters' comrades, for it is by such unwavering loyalty and boundless faith that the Emperor's gaze is drawn to the battlefield. The name of these martyrs, those who remain, achieve feats that defy explanation, destroying foes of far greater numbers and transforming inevitable defeats into miraculous victories. It is not only the slain warriors of their order that the sisters of our martyred lady revere, it is all who have given their life to preserve the sanctity of the Imperium. The sisters look to the example of their matriarch, who as a shield bearer placed the lives of others above her own, and celebrate those warriors who embody the spirit of Saint Catherine in their defense of mankind. Through battle psalms, they give praise to the Imperial Guardsmen, Space Marines and Tech Priests who have been slain fighting alongside them in their wars of faith. The bravest fallen soldiers are bestowed the same honor that the Order of our Martyred Lady gives its own sisters. Their names are added to the Order's hymns of vengeance and are sung before combat to stoke the wrath of the Sororitas. The Order's appearance. The Order of our Martyred Lady wore black power armor with black vestments that possessed red linings from the death of Saint Catherine until the end of the Third War for Armageddon in 998 M41. They currently wear black power armor and red vestments, with the red intended to honor the sacrifice of the battle sisters who died on Armageddon. In the past, their weaponry has also been painted a distinctive red. The Order's badge. The iconography of the Order is that of an egg with a white skull placed in the center of its circular head.